In 2009, the Wolves signed a defenseman whose legacy in the game stretched back decades.
Chelios coming late, moves in, fakes out of Mendes, shoots, he's gone! Hawks win!
He was a Chicago native who had once dominated on the other side of town as a captain of the Chicago Blackhawks in the 1990s.
Yeah, that was one of those headline grabbers when they announced that he was going to be coming here. I know that there had been some rumors. I can't remember how long ahead of time before he actually got here, before it was official. But I know that there was a lot of buzz in the community and everybody was talking about it.
The Allstate Arena would host the last game of Chris Chelios' hockey career, a career that featured a silver medal in Olympic Games, 11 National Hockey League All-Star appearances, and 3 Stanley Cup championships. For
a player of his caliber to come here to Chicago, his hometown, and to play for the Wolves, I mean, it was just a pretty amazing coup for the organization. His longevity in the league and, future Hall of Famer. And that's kind of the tail end, the other end of the equation of, you get to see a lot of young players at the beginning of their careers. Well, here's, an NHL lock for the Hall of Fame playing his last season with the Wolves in Chicago.
He would be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame shortly after he retired with the Wolves.
There's a part of you that goes, how can a guy that, at that age be playing professional hockey? But it's Chris Chelios. And I mean, he used to play 30 minutes of ice time when he would play in the games. He'd be on the PK, he'd be on the power play, he would do everything.
The Wolves had been attempting to sign Chelios for well over a decade.
I would talk to him the first time in 1994. It's a lockout. Him and Roenick kept coming to our games. They're just brand new kids. Come on, guys, come play for us, play for us, play for us. And yeah, I said, no, wouldn't do it.
I mean, every time I ran into him, I used to come to the games a little bit, just because I had friends in the team.
I think if one of them would, we'd have had both of them, yeah. But they wouldn't do it. 2004, the next lockout, right? That's what was happening. Chelios is coming, I don't know, maybe so. And then I had to tell him I'm going to take his 2 kids and put them on the team too.
The reality was I was in Detroit and working for the Wings, but it worked out. Things went south a little bit in Detroit, and I had an opportunity to stay with my parents, and it was a perfect fit and a great year.
In 2009, the Wolves finally reeled him in.
And now let's meet tonight's starting lineup. Starting on defense, number 7, Chris Chelios.
And Wendell Young took a phone call that would change his approach to the upcoming season entirely.
I had actually this is kind of a story for me that I remember sitting down in the coach's office and the phone rang and it was Don, and Don goes, would you take Chris Chelios on your team? And I go, in a second. And Don goes, do you think he can still play? And I go, yeah, especially in the American Hockey League. I go, he's got a bite to him. I go, he's a leader, he's this and that. And he goes, okay. Second thing is Chevy's leaving and it's your decision now. I'm like, I'm in.
I don't think I could have, drew it up any better. The team was struggling when I got here. I think Donnie Granato was coaching. They let him go and hired Don Lever. And like I said, it was too good to be true the way things went. We went on a winning streak. I was able to play Fridays and Saturdays and take Sundays off at my age and then go home and spend Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday with my family. Unfortunately, I think we lost in double overtime to Dallas, and they went on to go to the finals and lose.
Chris would have a powerful impact on the younger members of the Wolves roster.
I thought it was very unique, all these young Thrasher prospects that had played there, coming up to him with the stick that they used that night, having Chris Chelios sign that stick. And just, to be able to tell people, I played with Chris Chelios, and it happened to be Chris Chelios' last game pro, but Riley Hozoffel, Spencer Mahachek, Artur Skulda, Angelo Esposito, all these young prospects that were just so thrilled to have the opportunity to play with a guy like Chris.
What he brings more than anything of all those attributes that he has is the passion and the fun of playing in the game. He shows those kids, as hard as it is to work away from the game, when he's playing the game, nobody has more fun than Chris Chelios when he played the game.
He ended up with us at the end of the year,
right,
in Atlanta.
He just had fun. I mean, just played. That's all he cared about was playing.
He's the best. He'll end up being a coach in Atlanta. You watch. I think he's a natural coach.
I was talking to him about coming here. It was the bottom line. He goes, well, I'm not going to any minor league team. He goes, I'm not going anywhere. He goes, I'm going to the Chicago Wolves. It's a lot different. And, like, the professionalism that he brought to the game, brought to the dressing room, brought to the players. Like, I mean, He took a lot of guys under his wing.
His natural coaching abilities seem to resonate with everyone.
I think one day I don't know that he really wants to be a coach, but I think he'd be a really good coach. He's a solid role model, and what a leader.
The guys that wanted to help, perfect. I mean, they really, you could tell that they admired him, which was good. You know, being a Chris Chelios, how many years in the NHL, and he's going to give me advice, I'm taking it. And it worked out good. You could see the difference some of the younger defensemen at the time too. It really helped.
It's something that if I was ever to want to take on a full job again in hockey, it would definitely be coaching. I don't like wearing a suit. I like wearing a tracksuit to work.
During his short tenure with the Wolves, his professionalism and dedication to the game is foremost in the minds of the people who watched him play here.
Towards the end of the year, that year, I remember Stapleton was going around taking orders for jerseys, for Chelios jerseys. Honest to God, he went around to everybody who came to me and everything. He goes, okay, I'm ordering Chelios jerseys. Do you want a Montreal one, a Chicago one, you know, all the cities he played in Detroit. And he had them all made up because right at the end of the year, Chelios was signing them all for the guys to go home. So guys were, that's how much they had this guy in awe. But at the same time, Chelios goes, yeah, do what you want, whatever you want. Like, you know what? And he signed everybody's jerseys. That's Chelios being
Remember what I
Chelios.
said about hockey player?
Yep, that's Chelios being Chelios. And he didn't like. He knows he's had it good, but he doesn't put himself ahead of anybody.
When he stood up in the locker room and made a speech that was unsolicited about A, being a hockey professional, B, about being a Chicago Wolf, and seeing what he did and the respect that he showed to us as a professional hockey organization was, not that it was out of character, but it was surprising. That it was an emotional speech to the young players in our room about how much he enjoyed playing for us.
I mean, it was pretty much known that he was just going to do the one season and he was going to retire. So it was an elimination game that night for the Wolves in the playoffs, and you know, they ended up losing. So the media we knew that this was probably going to be his last game. So it was kind of surreal.
Well, I did finish in Chicago, so you know, I didn't think it was going to end up like that, but in a roundabout way. And I mean, I could have went and played for Grand Rapids, but it seemed like, you know, it was great to come back to Chicago. I always liked the Wolves crowd. They've always had great attendance, and it's closer to the South Side for me.
Tune in next time as Daring Greatly continues to chart the history of the Chicago Wolves in this exclusive docu-series.